Okay, this is a redo of part two of my reaction to Dr. Fatima's video, which I watched into the night, or into the morning, from midnight, from a lot later than I thought, a lot later in the morning than I thought it was, until like 6 in the morning or something like that, where she talked about the plight of Hawaiians who did not want yet another observatory on Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea, and the one with the telescopes on it. And then she talked about colonialism in the way she knew, as a Libyan American Arab, it made her sick to do what they did to the Hawaiians, and it brought, because she had that immigrant experience, that colonialist experience, and she put it all into the perspective of Palestine. It was a wonderful show. So let's talk about Cana, Palestine, Gaza. What my people did. My people were Canaanites. And then they became Jews when they were, yanked over into Babylon. Then we came back. Then we got yanked over into Rome, and then we became Ashkenazi, and then we got converted by Luther. And then Lutherans and Catholics went to war, and during that time, the family moved to the Rhineland, and in a place that's called Catholicische. Sure, it was. It's not called that anymore. That's the part of, and in the Treaty of Augsburg, where the princes were Catholic, so you became Catholic. If you were Lutheran, they said, hey, you don't have a choice. The Lutheran churches are closing; they're becoming Catholic churches now. You're Catholic now. Forced conversion is what happens on Earth in colonial powers, and just war. And YouTube Theological University has taught me that Cana is where Phoenicia came from. Phoenicia went to Carthage, and then the Carthaginian religion went, populated North African. So if you're like Fatima, Fatima is an Arab North African. Well, I mean, if she looks a heck of a lot like my old Sephardic housemate, they are indistinguishable when you look at them. Stacey Sephardim, and Fatima is Libyan, but a lot alike, ethnically the same, culturally not. Stacey's a bit of a Zionist. I am not. She is in California. I am in Washington D.C. I'm in Maryland. It's we have our own sides of the country. But the point is, the Canaanite god El, was transformed into Baal which was the storm god, and Yahweh was the storm god too. Yahweh, he who is, that which essentially means that God is the universe. God is everything. This computer, the table, everything. God, the whole thing about God making a weight he can't lift. God is that rock. And I guess he lifts some, troubles around, does both, being the rock and the force. So, but it was worked out. The road from Canaan turned into Judaism for the people who were in the Babylonian exile, and Carthage informed Greece, which informed Rome, and then the Jesus movement came, and they informed Rome, and they drug the the people from the ones that would be good slaves, they hauled them out of Canaan or out of Palestine and used them as slaves, and then eventually, some people became Ashkenazi, some people stayed Sephardim, some people were in Spain, and then they moved back to North Africa, or to Israel, or Palestine at the time, the Holy Land. The unholy land, the city of peace has become the object of war, but it's always been that way. It's, if you build your country on the crossroads of three continents, people are going to take your ass over, time and again. Living there, it's like, okay, armies are going to come, they're going to go, and they're going to do what they want. So what's the answer to Bibi Netanyahu's ethnic cleansing? Conversion. My family did it, and now I'm here as a secular Catholic, castigating the church for not accepting queer theory because of that their asexual priesthood is on the spectrum, or is on the not the spectrum, the in the rainbow. They are LGBTQIA. They're the A. Asexuals. The ones who are smart take to it, or the ones who are gay take to that, and the ones who are hetero, they don't get ordained anymore. So, and the ones who resist their being gay or being asexual, they molest children. So, and probably were molested. That's a different kind of sexuality. That's just that's long-term pederasty. So the only when Jesus said it would be better for them if they had a millstone tied to their necks and they were thrown into the sea. So yeah, it's he was when he said that, he wasn't talking about misleading people. He was talking about the practice and all of that time of having people who were being proteges having to behave sexually as passive, and altar boys sometimes still have to do that if they've got a not well-adjusted priest. I was an altar boy and my priests were all well-adjusted, so yeah, it's but converted, and now I've had a conversion experience. I now believe in near-death experiences, and I believe nobody goes to hell because it doesn't exist. Jesus made fun of it. He didn't practice it. When he talked about Lazarus, he was doing a goof on his brother-in-law Lazarus, and used them as a thing about charity, and it was also a thing about being. He was the one who was being raised from the dead. When it talks about in the story of Lazarus, at the gate who was in the bosom of Abraham, when Jesus said, even if somebody came from the dead, they have Moses and the prophets, and they don't, and if somebody came back from the dead, they wouldn't even listen to them. And he was talking about himself, and talking about Lazarus, because Lazarus came back. But near-death experiences are like, everybody goes to heaven, even the worst ones. And if you're not automatically there, all you have to do is call out in despair to God. God, why have you forsaken me? And God will answer. Come help me. And God always comes and helps. If you don't call it on, then you're in purgatory. There's like a mess according to the people who've gone. There are a bunch of people who don't see that all they have to do is ask. And eventually they do. And then they're happy. And then they come back. They forget what, they do what they're going to do and they come back whenever. I believe that now. And if you look at Judaism, it believes in reincarnation. And, it's early Christianity. Read the book of Luke. They said that John the Baptist was Elijah, the prophet. So, yeah. And you can tell because, he got beheaded because he slit the throats of the prophets of Baal. So it's like, it's karma. He has that mark. of his past life. So, yeah. So, I am liberal at Catholic. I still enjoy Eucharist. It's still there for me. Literally, it's in my heart. I have that experience of grace. I also have that experience of grace today when I was talking to somebody who was asking for money. We talked about Social Security checks and how hard it is out here. So, yeah, it's if you treat people like people with fellowship, that is heaven. See God in them, be God for them. That's heaven. And you have the same feeling that you do. But if you want to screw with Bibi Netanyahu, make a demand for rabbis, learn Hebrew, go to Shabbat, do the mikveh, go back to the religion of your forefathers who at one point for 300 or 400 years were Jews. And they were Catholics, and then they were Arabs. And, the first step in overcoming colonialism is to go to their church. Then you can claim equality. It's what my family did. It's not impossible. It's human. And it forces the Zionists to either accept you or say it's about ethnic cleansing. So it puts the ball in their court to be bad. And that will be the straw that they won't be able to do, because if Palestinians reclaim their Canaanism and reclaim, go back to what was, then if they can't not let you. It would look bad. This is why people do the right thing, because it looks bad if you don't. Make them look very bad. Learn Hebrew, and you probably know it already, and it's easy to learn from Arabic. And insist on having the mikveh and having the rabbis. Keeping the Sabbath holy, meaning don't work for Jews on Saturdays. Take the same Sabbath. It's like, it actually says, your servants should not have to work either. That's what it says in Torah. So, don't make it easy. Keep the malls closed, keep the restaurants closed, and insist on your day off on Saturday. Yeah. Adapt, and then you might like it. I like Judaism. I like Catholicism too. We all have to get over this using religion to hate people thing, and using it to exploit women, and keeping them out of the priesthood. That's all, and all of the Abrahamic religions do that still. We're starting not to. I'm for female ordination of mullahs, priests, ministers, rabbis, because there's no reason not to, except sexism. So, that's part 2. Part 3 will go to Hawaii. So, be right back. I'm doing this because I can only get 15 minutes of upload at a time because, YouTube.